high five. I'm going to say it just like him. Are you ready for this? Saludos and salutations, Broncos country. What's up, guys? Hey, welcome to Broncos Talk with myself at Broncos Viking and Richie Rich A. What's up, guys? John can't be here tonight. He's working some overtime, so it's sad. We miss him. I feel like we're shorter. I feel like we're short tonight.
He's the only one that can really give us that thin air perspective.
Well, yeah, and you get that. I feel like we're short tonight. Yeah. So we are one host short on the show tonight, but that's okay because in about a half hour or so, Mr. Glenn Hauser will also be joining us to have a really fun show. So once again, everybody, welcome to Broncos Talk. We are a fan-based Broncos podcast that goes live every Tuesday at 7654 on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Please like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so that you know when we go live on you can see it below on MHRT Podcasts on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. All right. We are very excited about this because, hey, Rich, what's happening this week?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. You're killing me. You're killing me. You're killing me here.
This is really.
That's right.
So this is really the start of football. This is where you really start getting into the nitty-gritty of things. This is where you start seeing those that step up, those that don't, that kind of stuff, and away we go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, hey, we got it's football. Football's back, man. Like it's training camp. All the veterans reported today, right? The rookies have been there for a few days. The quarterbacks, I believe, had to be there on Monday, or maybe it was Sunday. No, the quarterbacks had to be there Sunday, and the veterans reported today. And tomorrow, they should be starting actual practice. And we've had some press conferences today with the coach, with Coach Fangio, with Joe Ellis, the CEO and president. We've had another press conference with George Payton, with Von Miller, and with Cortland Sutton. It's been a lot of fun. So already we have some in the comments. We have quite a few in the comments already. We've got Shadow Jacker in the house, Dave Full Glassman, the Boss Man Mundungus Creevy. We got let's see who else is in the house tonight. Robert Royball says Broncos country. And we have the Boss Man says I'm so excited for football to be back. That's right. That is I couldn't be more excited for football to be coming back. Mile High Prophet in the house says brothers and sisters, football season is upon us. Can I get an amen? Had to do it that way. Had to.
There's a few amens.
Yes, there are. Robert Royball shouts amen. The Boss Man shouts amen. And apparently, according to Mile High Prophet, I also give a pretty good Adon impression, so I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I unfortunately can't give a good height comparison, however. But that's about it.
Ladders are a thing. Or stilts.
All right, yeah, you know what, jerk.
Oh, snap.
Anyway, we have Travis Tarbox in the house on Facebook. Hello, fellas, Denver Broncos for life. Vic's in the house. Happy Tuesday, folks, and amen. Man, this is, and no, Robert, this is not apple juice in the boot. No, it's beer, my friend. I drink in pod. Anyway, so let's get it started, guys. So, training camp, it's here. It is upon us. This is, I mean, technically training camp started today, but they've not actually gotten on the field. We haven't got to see any of that. So I would say today is the last MHRT podcast of the off season. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would agree.
Because come the MHRT podcast show on Thursday, there will actually be things to talk about, to break down things that we've been able to see. Mile High Prophet says, hope to see many of you at training camp tomorrow or this weekend. Oh, I wish I could, Prophet. I wish I could, but duty calls. I got to work. I can't make the trip to Colorado. And Rich, I'm sorry. You're just stuck in a whole other country.
Yeah. Actually, I have to check. They kept on going back and forth on the border. I'm not sure the U.S. will let me in.
I don't know. I mean, it might just be because they take one look at you and they automatically realize, hell no. But no.
It's happened before.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, it's here. Training camp is here. So let's get into it. So what are you, Rich? What are you most excited about for training camp?
I'd say for me, I'm most excited about to start getting some information on the offense and more importantly, how some of the guys are moving. We had so many injuries last year on mostly the defensive side of the ball, but also a couple on the offensive side of the ball. I really want to see where those guys are at, how they're moving, how they're looking, and more importantly, and I think this is going to be the big telltale for us, how much work are they allowed to do? What are our coaches allowing some of these guys to do when they get into camp? So I think that'll be rather telling to kind of get a really good idea in terms of where guys like Albert O and even Cortland Sutton on the offensive side of the ball are at after their injuries last season.
Well, I mean, in Cortland, to reference Cortland Sutton, I literally just like right before we went live finished watching his portion of today's press conference, and he said in his presser that he's like 99%, and the only 1% he needs is the actual on the field football, like real football play, is what he needs to finish. So it's super exciting to see Court. Court is really pumped. He did say in that presser, he's like, I do want to be careful too. He's like, I don't want to be overly careful, but I want to be careful because I haven't taken a hit in like a year. He's like, and that's, I also don't want to, be underprepared and get hurt again. So, I mean, I think he's coming at it. I think he's coming out of this injury. I think he's coming at it really, maturely. That's a really mature way to look at it. Like, because I mean, I don't know if you felt the same way, but I felt like when Bradley Chubb came back from his injury year before last year. Yeah.
Last year.
I felt like he was being he was playing timidly. Right, out the gate, it was kind of like he was being cautious, but I think he was being too cautious, which is fine. I get you don't want to get hurt again, but at the same time, this is professional football, So I really hope that Court keeps up with what he said in his presser and plays carefully, but doesn't play too carefully, because at the same time, he does still have. There's a lot still expected of him.
Well, the one thing you don't want is a wide receiver to play cautiously, because when you play like that, it's particularly, I'm going to lean more towards the offensive side of the ball here. You run the risk of getting really hurt, like badly, right? Yeah. Because you would normally go full tilt, and then you would maybe hesitate to kind of make a cut, and then you can just all sorts of things can go wrong on the offensive side of the ball that way. At least on the defensive side of the ball, when you don't go full tilt or try to push, maybe as hard as you normally would, all you're doing is you're basically just acting as a minor roadblock for the opposing team. You're not really risking as much in terms of getting injured on the defensive side of the ball when you're going, say, something like half speed.
Right. And I mean, you really need to, you really, really need to be able to keep up. You have to be able to keep up, plain and simple. And what it just really comes down to is, yes, play careful. You were hurt. We get that. You literally had a season-ending injury, and it was bad. And it's the kind of injury that, if not treated properly, you can easily re-injure. But at the same time, don't be so careful that you come across as weak or timid, because that isn't going to help the team at all. I think you got muted there, brother. Yeah, there we go.
No. Yeah, you're right.
I think that's the most important thing that I want to see from Court, since he's literally saying right now I'm 100% or I'm 99%. All I need is that 1%, which is on-field play. If he's saying that, I'm going to believe him. I just want him to be careful, but not too careful. So there's that. Jumping back to our comments here. We have Mundungus, who said he is very excited to hear basically I lost you, Rich. A resolution to the ownership problem. Sounds like it will be solved by the end of the season, beginning of the off season. That's kind of I think that's the biggest news of the day. Is that basically right now Joe Ellis says the team is not for sale. He literally said the team is not for sale. As of right now, it seems like they're trying to the lawsuit's been dropped, and they're trying to come to a internal resolution to hopefully keep it in the family.
Do you know who mentioned that on our pod? And I hadn't thought of this as an angle before, and I'm betting you it's probably what's come to, behind the scenes agreement is future earnings. So I believe it was Nick Kendall when he was on with the MHRT. Mm-hmm. He came on and started saying, one thing that could have come on the table is future earnings. And I hadn't really thought about that as an angle before. He is dead on.
I mean, he is.
He was dead on.
This team is going to earn so much more with an owner than it is under the provisional leadership of a trust.
Right.
It makes it tough. And plus it makes it a lot easier for the Broncos to get bullied by the NFL, as we saw last season. I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee you that if the Broncos had a strong owner last season, the week 12 against the Saints, that debacle never would have been a thing.
I agree with that.
Because no owner would have allowed Roger Goodell and the rest of the NFL to step all over us the way they did, especially when they had been making concessions for so many other teams who had done the same dang thing.
Well, in addition to that, you also have to remember is that each of the individuals of the other quarterbacks in the room tested negative every single day. And the only thing that the league needed to do is wait one more day, and then the others would have been potentially cleared to play. So,
there's so much. Real quick, we'll continue on this, but we got Mobad in the house. Says, "Sup, family." We got Dave, Mr. Boggins, our fellow MHRTer in the house, saying, "I'd say the odds that the Broncos are sold is a lot more likely than Brittany being the sole owner." I agree with you, Boggins. However, one thing that I don't know if you caught it. One thing that Joe Ellis was very adamant about was that, or not adamant, but he did mention in there was that if one of the Bolin children, which the most likely front runner is Brittany, if one of the Bolin children was to take over, there would have to be provisions in place. There would be agreements between the siblings. So I don't think she would be the sole owner entirely, but I do think that she would maybe have the controlling
51%.
Yeah, 51% controlling stakes. So
the other thing is that you can do, depending on how they organize it, you could also set it up where Brittany is the veto vote.
Yes.
But and that would still make her. And I would imagine I'd have to see the NFL's. They put out a document about 2 years ago, and they really updated it to penalize teams like the Broncos last year to basically have it come into effect. At the beginning of this year. You have to see if they allow. You have to see if they allow for a veto vote to be deemed the controlling owner, and if that holds true, then Brittany could be the figurehead and make have the veto vote and be seen as the kind of the main person of by the NFL, and that could well have also been an option as it pertains to settling the suit, and also allowing the team to move forward and stay within the Bolin family and not be sold.
Yeah. And you see, like right here, Dave Glassman says what I was trying to say, and I just couldn't think of the words right. He said, we don't need a sole owner, but we need a majority owner. And that, yes, absolutely. I agree. And like, that was even one of the things back when like it was being touted all over Twitter and stuff like that. Peyton Manning should step up and become owner. Well, he's not worth as much as the team. You know, he can't buy the team outright. He's not worth that much, but he could become the majority owner with some backing of, you know, some partners, you know, but same thing. Brittany might not become sole owner, but she could become majority owner with the siblings, you know, the rest of the siblings behind her. I mean, I'm just saying there will need to be some concessions that they dropped the lawsuit, which means that they're willing to sit down and try to work this out. Hopefully, I would honestly just hope that it's in the interest of trying to keep the family together. You know, like, you know, oh guys, we're brothers and sisters. I know that's probably
I'm not so sure about.
Yeah, probably not. I would love to think that because I'm an optimistic. My heart is so full of sunshine kind of guy, but but you know what it really comes down to is we need an owner, plain and simple. Okay. NFL ownership rules require there be a designated primary owner for the purposes of voting at owners' meetings.
That's what I said. Like a figurehead, a veto vote, however you want to word it. That's exactly what that scenario.
I mean, because look what the franchise is worth. The franchise is worth over $3 billion.
Correct.
There aren't that many people on planet Earth that can afford a $3 billion price tag. So, I mean, unless you're Elon Musk deciding to buy the Denver Broncos, which we all know he's not going to do, you know, I mean, there's not really anyone that can afford to be the sole owner, right? You know, with what the team is worth at this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, profit with the big brain, says Dave Glassman. And there it is. The lawsuit has already been dismissed. Not sure if they can refile it. I know quite a bit about law just because I worked with the police department for many years. They can refile a civil suit. It's actually incredibly easy to refile a civil suit. So yeah, profit. Hey, even a broken clock is right twice a day. That's right. Going back up here. I had one that I wanted to pull. Okay, here we go. Mundungus was saying the Broncos would have to get a waiver from the NFL to have Brittany be the sole owner, but they don't if she is just majority, which is what it looks like is going to happen. She is, I mean, whether or not, you know, Beth Bolin or any of the others want to have something to say about it, Brittany is currently the one in the position to, you know, she's been working with the organization. She's well established within the organization at this point. She is the front runner. And so I think ultimately that's probably what is going to happen. So primary ownership is probably what I think they're going to go for. But Ellis did say that there is that sale is off the table at this time. This team is not for sale. And then he went on to say that we probably won't hear much about the ownership situation over the next 6 months. Like he literally pretty much said we will not really be revisiting or coming to a decision on ownership until he said that Vic Fangio promised that the season wouldn't be over for us until February. So that's a pretty bold statement from Vic Fangio through our CEO and president. But he said that we would probably not even hear anything until February of 2022. So, I mean, we might hear little whispers through the grapevine over the next few months on the ownership situation, but I doubt we're going to get any kind of true resolution until after this season's over.
I think I also think that's one of the conditions of dropping this suit, that they all kind of came to agreement to say this is not a good look for the team. So I can imagine.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's awful looking. Going up here, I saw one. All right, here we go. Dave Full Glassman, our resident optimist. Can we get the Rodgers is out of the picture talk out of the way? All right. So for those that haven't heard, For those that haven't heard, it's kind of shocking, but Aaron Rodgers is officially returning to Green Bay, at least for the 2021 season. So those of you that want to jump in this chat and talk about, let's get Rodgers in Denver, stop it. Stop it right now. It's not happening. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers have come to terms. Don't know what those terms are yet. They haven't been laid out. But he officially reported to training camp. He is there, and he is going to be suiting up in green and yellow for at least for the next this next season. Now, after that, he could be off, and he could trade, get his trade to wherever he wants. I don't know how all that's going to work, but as of this moment for 2021, Aaron Rodgers is a no-go for trading to the Denver Broncos. So let's just table that conversation if we could, please. The dog beat me to the Rodgers talk. Okay, well, I did my best. Okay. And I lost my my co-host there. I'm not sure what's going on. So we'll just keep on talking about Aaron Rodgers and the quarterback situation for now. Mile High Prophet says, ride with Locke. And yes, for the, at this point, it doesn't really look like much else is going to happen. Do you think, Rich?
No, my dog doesn't much care for Aaron Rodgers, as you could tell. Bronco was brought upstairs. He just said something about he likes quarterback competitions. I don't know what that was about.
Oh, did you please tell me you kenneled him after that?
Oh, I sent him upstairs. He's grounded. But I mean, some interesting things with Aaron Rodgers is that Aaron was obviously, it seems like what he's done is he's kind of pulled a little bit of a Tom Brady, as I understand it, where he has basically given himself this year and an out at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, they have not laid out what the terms are yet of his contract going into the season. But one thing that I believe what I understood was he's not getting paid any more than he was before. He didn't get extra money, and he definitely didn't get his his temper tantrum desire of getting Gutekunst outed out of the building. So I'm not sure what terms they came to, but they apparently came to terms. He reported to training camp, and he will be in green and yellow for the 2021.
Well, I don't think it's a stretch. I mean, Aaron was quite clear in the fact that he felt that the team wasn't treating him and other players, well, and
there was no respect.
With respect. Yeah, with respect, right? So I think as I understood it, he was basically saying, look, like if you're bringing in a quarterback, like that's cool, but I have a phone and it works, so can you call it? And
I mean,
and I think
Drew
the team, and I think the team was basically saying, no, we're good. And then he says, well, then I guess we're good. And he said, so I'll come back for this year. Here's the new thing. You're not going to basically treat your players or the rest of it. I'm out. And then he said, so here's the new terms. If you want me to show up this year, otherwise I'll retire. And man, can I make your life unpleasant?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and the only interesting part is how much time has been spent across the league talking about all of his, his peacocking and standing up and doing, and being firm as a, stone firm where, on his position for the last several months, only to have him fold, basically fold in the end. Basically all the things that he was demanding or all the things, he just kind of like, all right, you know what? I'm coming back. And I mean, it just
ain't nobody got time for that.
It's been rough. It's made for a lot of interesting conversation over the past few months. But ultimately in the end, I mean, it's kind of like, dude, why did we even bother? Like, why did you even bother? You lost out on me. Granted, he doesn't need the money. The guy's got so much freaking money. He doesn't even know what to do with it.
No, but I think his biggest thing right now is he has what 90+% of football players never get.
Yeah.
Full control. He has the ability right now at the end of this season to say, you can't tag me. You can't stop me from leaving. I can go where I want to go. And he can start doing kind of the Peyton Manning roundabouts and kind of narrow down a list of maybe 3 or 4 teams, really get serious and go from there. And that really is something that, I mean, there's been 2 or 3 football players that I can recall that have really ever had that as a true option. And let's also be honest, he still has probably in a good 4 or 5 years, maybe if he wants to, left.
Oh, easily,
play left,
easily.
Right? I mean, the one thing you have to look at Rodgers right now when you compare him to Peyton, even Peyton Manning, and then if you want to go to more recent, like recency bias, look at Tom Brady, is Aaron Rodgers has a way stronger arm at this point in his career than either of the other 2 quarterbacks that I mentioned.
Right.
So he has he's up here and he has the ability to fall all the way to here before he's at kind of where those other 2 were at the same age, right?
Right. I mean, it's been, like I said, it's made for some pretty cool talks and some pretty cool hypotheticals and stuff over the past few months. But like I said, at this point,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
like I want to talk about, let's talk about, let's talk about our team, right? So now that we've breached the quarterback situation with Aaron Rodgers, let's just roll right into Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If you don't mind. I mean, so we're going to put that to bed, y'all. Aaron Rodgers is not coming to Denver. So There it is. Let's just table it. Let's talk about 2021, the quarterback situation for 2021 for the Broncos. He's not going to be a Bronco in 2021. Let's just Ron, you done messed up. You're out. Okay. So Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater. We had oh God, sorry. Here, going over to the comments real quick. We have let's see. I saw one up here. I'm sorry, guys. I lost it. Mobad says he was disappointed because he was dreaming that he would come to Denver, which a lot of people were, bud. And I mean, even those of us that weren't pounding the table for an Aaron Rodgers to Denver situation, even we were like, it's still Aaron Rodgers. Like, if he comes to Denver, I'm not going to be upset.
And really, I think what the mental mindset of most fans in that scenario would be was the same thing that happened when Tebow was basically supplanted by Peyton Manning. Everyone was like, yeah, Tebow did awesome the year before. It's like, but we just landed Peyton Manning. It's like one of those things. Even if he's like a quarter of what he was, the mental capacity and his ability to control the field is going to make up for a lot. And little did we know, he came back and frankly, the first 2 or 3 years, there was almost no difference between the Peyton of old and where he was.
Yeah,
there.
None. I mean, it was incredible.
Now, where you really started to see it was near the very, very back end of his time here. And as I understood it, he started losing quite a bit of feeling throughout his hand and his arm, and especially his throwing arm. So, but nonetheless, Aaron Rodgers is not in the same boat as Peyton at all.
I mean, he's had a pretty serious injury when he broke that clavicle, but that's healed up at this point. And as long as he doesn't take some massive hit, he's going to be okay.
Agreed.
Going down in the comments, we have hashtag Sassy Mundungus brought out by Mobad because Mundungus is just being, as he always is, sassy in the comments.
I guess I'm curious in terms of what people think of about Drew and Teddy and kind of where we think they're going to stack up, what we're interested in seeing. Do we think there's going to continue to be a bit of a divide in training camp? Like, do we think that training camp is going to narrow that, Team Teddy and Team Drew, or that we've seen in some of the pressers and some of the news articles? Or do we think that training camp will kind of narrow that gap and make it more of a, whoever wins, and we'll go from there?
I think it's going to come down to preseason. I mean, we only have 3 games. They're taking away our 4th preseason game. So Vic Fangio in his presser today was very, very cryptic on what his plan was on how they're going to run the preseason. Because, usually the 3rd game is the dress rehearsal game. And then the 4th game is just dudes just trying to make the roster. He was very cryptic as to what his plan was for that. My wife says, I vote Drew Lock. He was good at Mizzou. Hopefully this will be his year for the Broncos. My wife and I are both diehard Mizzou fans.
So can I jump in there?
You may.
There was some interesting stuff. I may have been you that brought it up in one of your Nothing Rhymes podcasts, but I actually dug deeper into it. And if it was you, then good on you. If not, I heard that and saw actually that Drew, in his only time in college where he had back-to-back offensive coordinators, his second year under the same OC was his best year in college, and it wasn't even close.
Oh, it was he broke records.
Right.
Granted, eventually, we got Glenn Hauser jumping in. Here he comes, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Glenn Hauser.
I've been stretching. I've been stretching, ready for the end of the show.
Live from the nursing home, Glenn Hauser.
You're not kidding, dude.
Anyway,
sorry, I was prepared for the glare. So
the glare off the head.
I know better. Sorry to jump in late, guys.
Oh, you're fine, Glenn. You're fine. We've actually had a pretty good talk so far. So, and by the way, I don't know if you heard, but we fired you the other day on Nothing Rhymes because Dave Glassman stepped in your role of telling us all the awesome history of players and stuff. And we were like, you know what? Glenn's fired. So
Dave and I are definitely the old guys in the club. That's for sure.
That's right.
Thank you, Dave. Which is great because, somebody needs to nod in agreement when I say something that's, pre-90s. So I appreciate that, Dave.
I'm a study on it. Okay. But I wasn't there for it, but I'm a study on it. So anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, Rich, you're completely right. Drew Lock's only 2 seasons with repeat systems. He went on to break. He at the time broke SEC records, which later went on to be broken by Joe Burrow. But that was a great thing. Now I'm hoping he can that lightning can strike again. I'm very I've been pro Lock for a long time because I've been watching him for so long. I was probably one of the biggest proponents or supporters of us drafting Drew Lock in the first place. I was hoping for it, and everybody else was like, no. But who knows what'll happen with that? The only thing we know is that Vic Fangio did say today that in his presser that Drew Lock will be getting the first snaps of camp.
And I think that's kind of overblown a little bit, if you don't mind me jumping in.
No.
Is because somebody has to be the first. And they said, why? And he goes, he's been here longer. He was here. His seniority. He actually used the word seniority.
Yeah.
So I think, and Vic referenced, some days it's going to be 50-50. Some days it's going to be 70-30. Don't be so consumed with what wide receivers are in. When a particular quarterback, we're going to be mixing and matching the wide receivers. And so if it looks like you see a wide receiver 1 in a certain position, don't read too much into it. So I think Vic's already trying to temper the daily, report card that we're all going to still ignore him and still go. Yeah.
I'm not even sure that's 100%. Like I agree with that, but I also think that Denver has a relatively deep wide receiver room. And so I also think that some of the wide receivers that we have here, we're going to want to see how they do with the other quarterbacks. And we're going to want to see other wide receivers in place to see if they can step up into a role. For example, Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick are both free agents after this year. So we're going to want to see what kind of depth we have at that position. So training camp is not such a bad time to start and look into those things while we're practicing and kind of seeing who fits where. And more importantly, who do we think might creep onto the 53 in those last kind of roster spots? And I think Seth Williams, and there's a few others that are in that kind of low, that kind of early with us, but could they be contributors maybe in 2022 and beyond?
And that's a good point, Rich, because we have to be very cautious about what young players we would normally be able to put on a practice squad, leave exposed for other teams to pluck, because we are very likely to lose Tim Patrick. I feel pretty confident about Cortland. Peyton actually referenced him today, referenced Chubb. It's quite refreshing actually to hear a general manager say we want our homegrown guys to continue on with the team. You didn't hear that with Elway, and he made it clear that he expects Cortland to be back. Cortland was actually one of the people at the pressers today, the guy rocking a vest in July, which is not many people can pull that off, but he did. And
Glenn Hauser, fashionista. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have had a shirt on underneath, but we all, we all have our preferences, I suppose.
Well, that's your fair Brett.
Exactly. Yeah. But Cortland said he'd love to be a Bronco for life. So I think I'm feeling the love with, surrounding that player. So,
I mean, and so looking back, Mundungus brought it up here. It looks like, for the preseason, it's going to be lock with one start based on what Vic said in his presser today. Lock with a start, Teddy with a start, and then a decision before game 3 is what he was kind of leaning towards, but he still didn't confirm anything. Which I would hope he's not just 100% just set on that and ready to and anything like that. I'd hope he'd have something of an open mind, going continuing on, just because these two could end up neck and neck as far as the quarterback competition goes.
If that happens, then Drew's won.
I agree.
If that happens, then Drew's won because. If Drew is neck and neck with Teddy, then that basically tells you that he's probably shown progression at that point, because at that stage of the game, he has then taken some next steps forward simply because Teddy Bridgewater has a slightly better anticipatory throw than Drew has shown to date, whereas Drew has shown that he has a stronger arm than Teddy to date. So if they are neck and neck, then that's showing that Drew has shifted his game a little bit more into more the touch and feel stuff that is required in kind of a Shermer offense, which is kind of leading receivers, throwing guys open and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And to me, that would be huge. I mean, if Drew could just take that step in the preseason to show that he has taken that much of a leap forward without having live bullets in NFL games, that's a win in and of itself for us as a team with a cost-controlled quarterback like Drew Lock.
Yeah. One of the things that Vic actually mentioned, today in regards to the competition is, oh my gosh, I just totally lost my train of thought. Let's pull up a comment. Let's pull up Travis's. I was reading Travis's and I lost my train of thought.
Travis asked, do you guys know of a website or a way to stream all of the games that I can say on here without getting gigged by the FBI, Travis? No. But
Travis, I have a DM thing.
Yes, hit me up in the DMs. I can help you out.
I may or may not know how that is done, and I make no promises that I can feed you any viable information.
Yeah. I can neither confirm nor deny.
I can say that there are some fun Bronco fan sites around the country, even in small towns, and somebody will prop their phone up and you'll hear them chatting and they'll be showing the broadcast. So that was, unfortunately our neighbors' trees don't allow us to get Sunday Ticket anymore where I live. So have to be creative.
I lost my Sunday Ticket as well. So,
yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. And there you go. Dave Glassman said it right there. The way that we can confirm is NFL Sunday Ticket on DirecTV. Otherwise, you must get creative, which means that we got to get creative in talking in DMs about the ways to get creative, buddy.
Yeah, you can also get a dozen.
Last time Johnny got creative in my DMs, I was mortified for days. Just saying.
Well, I did it for you. I did it for you, Boo Boo. I mean, if you didn't like it, that's on you. Okay.
I really thought that was the beard, but I never mind.
Oh. I mean that. Wow. I got nothing. Boggins, I ain't paying no $350. Yeah. Agreed. I don't know if he's talking about Sunday Ticket or what I do in the DMs apparently. But let's see. Travis says, I live in Arkansas and don't trust the local broadcast. Yeah, you definitely shouldn't. Not in Arkansas, buddy. So, all right. So so continuing to roll. So, Drew Lock and Teddy, we haven't got to see them yet in training camp. I mean, they reported on Sunday and now we're waiting for tomorrow so we can see some players on the field, getting some touches, getting some snaps, getting some moves.
Yeah.
Listen,
So Johnny, what I just thought of what I was going to say with Vic and talking about the quarterbacks is he did make a point.
oh God, y'all disgusting. Y'all nasty.
That is a pricey investment, pride-wise and monetarily, by the way.
No, I'm not ever.
So what Vic was saying that when I got sidetracked, I apologize, was that he was saying, you know what, until they have any games, these quarterbacks know they're not getting hit. So it's really not a true testament to what their decision making is like or whatever, because they know that they're not going to even be touched. And so until we get those guys on a live field against real competition, no one's going to know exactly the state of the nation, so to speak.
Preseason. Mundungus, I should stream the game on my OnlyFans. No, I don't have an OnlyFans. Wife, I know you're watching this, and I know you know I don't have an OnlyFans. Y'all gonna get me divorced. Stop it.
The game is projected on Johnny's butt cheek.
No, you don't want that. I ain't got a butt. It's like, for me, it's like back thighs. It's there's not enough space.
The crack is the half.
Yeah,
okay?
That's right. Dave asked what the country my last name's origin is. Turkish. Dave. Yeah, you would not know it looking at me, but Turkish. So, moving on.
I'm really glad I drove the show into the ground since I've been on for the last 5 minutes.
You really have. I mean,
so
we're just.
I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are on this. If Drew is currently slated to say start preseason game 1 and Teddy preseason game 2. If you start seeing Teddy leapfrog Drew and then get preseason game 1, what are your guys' thoughts on whether or not is that something that we should be kind of radar up kind of thing as fans, or is that something you're just saying, hey, coaches just kind of wanted to see if progress could continue on and we shouldn't think anything of it?
I'm not sure I fully understand your question.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is if Teddy leapfrogs Drew as starting preseason game 1, is that something that should signal to us as fans that Teddy has pulled ahead of Drew in the, competition, as it were?
I think so much of this is going to evolve. I feel like they're coming into this with this set plan, the 50-50, the this and that. But somebody has got to, the likelihood that they're going to be so, nose to nose, for some period of time is very slim, in my opinion. I think it's going to evolve, and they're going to start giving guys.
Gonna pull.
Someone's going to pull, and they're going to realize we got to get some reps for the person we think is probably in the lead at this point.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Going back off topic. My wife she brought it in. Johnny has no butt. That's true. But those calf muscles, I do have. That's right. I do have calf muscles that make women quiver. I'm just saying. That's fun. I need to get to the gym and squat. My wife has called me out. I would squat if I could, Dave, but I have a crippled ankle. That's why the butt disappeared. It's hard. I can't support much weight on the ankle, unfortunately, due to severe nerve damage in my left ankle. So I'm handicapped. It's awful. Okay. You want to fight about it? Like Robert Roybal, quivering calf muscles.
That can be your like, we had suffer and succotash. That could be quivering calf muscles.
Quivering calf muscles. When Doug is a woman's quiver is a man's dry heave. Oh, well, you would know, wouldn't you, boss? Anyway, so let's continue talking football for a minute and get off my butt and calf muscles.
So if I can interject, we've spoken a fair amount of offense.
Yes.
What are we looking forward in the defense side of the ball in the training camp? Are there any, Well, actually, I mean, for starters, we found out that the two rookie safeties that we drafted were put on the COVID list.
They were, they
so-
were.
One safety, one cornerback.
Yeah, I was going to say one safety, one cornerback, and who was the other one?
Yeah,
Wasn't there
you're
another
right.
one? No, there wasn't another one on the COVID list. We have 3 on the pup, 3 on the pup, 2 and 2 on the COVID list, right?
Right. What I think with defense, I mean, what I'd like to think is just no injuries, no soft tissue injuries, no serious injuries in training camp, and enter the first game healthy. That's my defense training camp. Also, it'll be very interesting to see when Browning gets out there. Sternad, I'm excited to see him.
I was literally about to ask you about Browning. Do you think Browning, Glenn, will be ready to play in the preseason at least?
When we had Mario on and we referenced him being on the PUP, he has sources all over the place, and he actually referenced that Browning particularly, and said that his sources tell him he's going to be fine. And Vic actually referenced Browning being that he'd be good to go as well.
All right. So that's what you hope for. That's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Total domination, Richie. So, as far as I feel like we kind of already know what to expect somewhat from our secondary, at least. No one, oh Lord Boggins, no one practiced. Just walk around until Giants game. I have PTSD from last season. Can't take any more injuries. That's right. Yes. Welcome to the PTSD club, buddy. But I think we kind of know what we can expect right now from our secondary. I mean, again, I hate the words on paper. I hate hearing it. On paper, the Broncos. No, I get so sick of hearing that, but I mean, that's really the only thing you can say is that on paper, the Broncos have the top defense in the NFL, at least the top secondary. But I agree with you, Glenn. Besides expecting and knowing that we have what we have on paper, preventing injuries and re-injuries to those players is the most important thing for this training camp, in my opinion.
All right.
And
so
once
on that note, what do you think's been done differently? So I mean, I don't disagree, right? Glenn called it out. You called it out. I concur. And the last thing we want is Boggins to start like shivering in a corner somewhere. So
wrapping
Charlie
himself
was
in a
everywhere.
shower curtain.
The trees. Charlie was everywhere. The trees started talking.
I mean, he's gonna be on Thursday in the corner of his bathtub, let alone just standing in front of the shower curtain. So
with the water on, though.
Yeah, with the water on to kind of soothe himself, right? But looking forward ahead in terms of what we're looking at this for training camp here, what do you think we have done differently to prevent those injuries as a team collectively? So, last off season, I think a lot of people were saying, well, I had nothing better to do, so all I did was work out. Fine, but we had so many soft tissue injuries. I mean, I honestly can't remember a team that had that many ACL, MCL injuries on one team ever. So with in mind,
those
what
aren't
have we done differently
soft
to
tissue
prevent
injuries. ACL, MCL aren't necessarily soft tissue injuries, but lower body injury.
Sure,
ran rampant.
Sure,
lower, waist down injuries from the waist down this last season ran rampant. It was like somebody slipped something into like the water supply, and everybody's legs were just destroyed or something. I like what Mundungus just brought up here, because I think this is what he's doing to change it. I think it's more of how Fangio's changed practices to limit injuries. He fully kind of alluded to the fact that he over practiced last season. He probably pushed him a little bit too hard, and there's I feel inclined to agree. I don't know about you, Glenn or Rich, but.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I go to our two historians here on the pod, in Dave and Glenn. And I don't mean that they're so old that they're part of history. All that might
yes,
be
you do.
Too.
Don't lie don't lie to him.
But like I was saying earlier, I cannot remember a time where I saw that many lower body injuries on one team in one season, especially with us. There was one game, I think we lost 3 or 4 guys in one game with almost identical injuries. So with that in mind, where are you at, Glenn?
I honestly think last year was such a disaster, such a fluke. I mean, when Mario also last week mentioned, his father had been involved with the NFL and with players for 50 years.
Decades. Yeah.
And he had never seen an injury like Vaughn's. It was just such a fluke thing.
It was unprecedented.
And that was almost the beginning of the landslide at that point. We were so excited. I mean, I remember MHRT started right at that time. There was so much optimism. And then after Vaughn's injury, we had the pod that night, and it was like a death in the family. It was so awful. And then it was just the beginning of the flurry of injuries that came. And so I think that Vic is being smarter. I think that having steady practices and having scheduled mini camps and actually being in person and having these other, maybe some of the restrictions lifted, I think all of that plays into a positive, positive environment.
I agree. I mean, like I've said it several times on several shows. Last season was Murphy's Law for the Broncos was Murphy's Law meets perfect storm. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it went wrong as badly as it could go. It just fell apart. And like you said, landslide. It started with a trickle, and it just rushed down the hill and took everything with it.
And before we get to Tony's, when things are going bad, I was fine with things going very bad at that point, because would you rather have the 16th pick or would you rather have the 9th? And we wouldn't have gotten Patrick Surtain. We wouldn't have had some of the leverage that we, to move up and get some of these other players.
Pookie Williams.
And Pookie. I mean, I think this.
And then we wouldn't have that name for Isaiah either.
That's right. That's right.
Who is still on his honeymoon? So he's still hut hiking. Wherever he is right now.
Is that what they call it now?
That is exactly what we're calling it.
So now he's called Nuki Henderson.
Nuki Henderson.
Yeah, I changed the pronunciation to
Nookie Night. Nookie Night.
Nookie Night.
Nookie Night. There you go.
The dark Nookie rises. I know you're going to see this later, buddy. I love you, and I hope you and the wife are having a wonderful honeymoon.
I want everyone to send Isaiah a quick tweet when they get off of this. The dark Nookie rises. That is spectacular. It needs to be a thing. I want to see it everywhere. It is awesome.
That is, yes. So Tony Williams on Facebook. It's a name I don't. I'm sorry, Tony. Hold on. I'm too busy trying not to cry from laughing so hard.
This is Tony's first and last question.
Yes, I was going to say I don't recognize Tony Williams. So Tony, welcome to Broncos Talk and welcome to MHRT Podcasts. We're happy to have you in here. Speaking about injuries, anyone else as concerned about the tight end room depth? Albert O is weeks away. Should Fant go down, vigorously knocking on wood, there goes tight end production. Yeah, some, but I don't know. Would you feel this one, Glenn? I want to see what you think.
We definitely need a good, solid number 3. Especially with Albert O. I mean, Tony's point is absolutely perfect. I mean, Noah Fant looks like he's gonna have a massive breakout. When Nick Kendall was talking to us, he was even saying, boy, Noah looks big in those pads. And they're like, wait, they don't have shoulder pads on today. He's just massive. And you see him running up red rocks. And I haven't heard much about Albert's when he's going to be back, but we do need a solid tight end. And I'm not looking for one that's more of a fullback. I'm looking for someone that has some blocking ability, but we can count on in the receiving end, because injuries are going to happen. And Fant hasn't been healthy,
by, especially this time of the season, though, Glenn.
Right.
I mean, you might get a tight end that's good in the as a route runner and as a pass catcher, but generally speaking, at least at this point, you're going to get either or.
No.
So let me ask you that then. So if we had to pick a tight end, if like we needed a number 3 tight end to go behind Alberto and Noah Fant, and we needed him, and he whoever it was only had one skill set that was strong, which would either be run blocking, pass or pass blocking, or receiving. Which one do you think we need the most?
I mean, I would like a well-rounded player, but at this point, I think we would have to get, and it goes counter to what I just said, because I do think that we need receiving help from the tight end standpoint if someone goes down, but it's got to be run blocking, because I know I saw that. That's why I was like, where's Virgil? Like, let's bring him back.
God.
There's going to be a huge running game focus this year, especially with Devontae. So I think we do need a run block tight end.
Well, we have Eric Silbert and Sean Baer. I've heard pretty good things actually about both who were signed as, I think both as UDFAs or at least as street free agents. Yeah. One may have been one and one was the other, I think. But I've heard really good things about both. I get the two crossed all the time, and it's going to take me a while to sort the two out. The one that we signed as a UDFA apparently is a really good hybrid of the two. He's both pass catching and run blocking. So he may actually fit the bill, Glenn, in terms of something that you're interested in. Now, he fell to UDFA, so you can kind of take that with a grain of salt, I guess, in terms of like kind of those types of reports. But I mean, if you can get a tight end that can step in and step up and fill in like a number 3 role as a UDFA, man, you have hit the ball out of the park.
It's what you need.
Yeah, I mean that's impeccable. Talk about cost control and production combined, right?
Right.
With Bayer from Iowa, I mean, you see Iowa and tight end, hello.
Yeah.
is there a school with a better track record for one position in the NFL right now than Iowa?
I think Iowa and tight end. Michigan has some good tight end history too. Yeah. But quick sidebar. This is Tony Williams. Quick sidebar. Love this podcast. Long-time listener, first-time questioner. I live 8 miles from Giant Stadium and used to cover the G-Men. Happy to be here, and I will be at the Hall of Fame and season opener. Wow!
Oh, congratulations, Tony. What town do you live?
Fantastic.
In Jersey.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Tony.
Thank you.
For sure. I'm gonna go way back actually at the beginning, because I realized that I missed a comment that was one of our first comments of the show, and I want to bring it up because I want him to keep coming back. Travis Tarbox. I hope you're still watching, my friend. I'm finally, after 35 years of being a Broncos fan, going to my first ever home game. I got tickets for the Ravens game, toured the stadium, but never a home game. I'm happy for you, brother.
Congratulations.
Have fun. Have a blast. It is there. I have been to home games and away games for the Broncos, and I'm going to tell you right now, it does not matter how many away games you've gone to. You have not lived until you've been in the sea of orange. It's such a unique fan base at the home games. It's incredible.
I've actually lost count the number of times that I got asked by the locals there from Denver where I was from, because my accent was weird. So it was great.
Man, what's that about? Like,
I don't know what that's about.
Plus, he was carrying a hockey stick.
No, this is a boot.
Yeah. But so I mean, fun story. My wife and I actually went to a Broncos game for our honeymoon, and the funny part about that is that the cheerleaders were throwing up those those little foam balls, and the guy behind me thought he was going to be able to pull the ball out of my hand. He almost fell over the seat as I ripped him over the seat with the ball still in my hand. He quickly found out that was not a good idea.
I mean, you're a 6'2" rugby player. I mean, did he not like take one look at you and go, nah?
Well,
Meanwhile, the
my
child
neck-
that
I can't really feel here, my neck is like.
meanwhile, the child that the cheerleader was originally throwing it to is sitting there crying, watching these two men wrestling. So Tony's from Montclair. I my family's all from Jersey, so thanks
Okay.
for coming. Rivervale and Livingston and Old Japan. So
Okay, real quick, I'm gonna bring this one up. Dave Glassman, our buddy Full Glassman asks, "How are we still stuck at 299 subs? WTF? Come on, guys, help us out a bit here. We have been literally since
that's because every
Sunday.
time we make fun of Isaiah, he unsubscribes just to
Oh,
out of spite.
poor Pookie. But no, we've legitimately been stuck at 299 subs for like the last 3 days. Like, come on, y'all. Let's bust 300. Let's do it.
So Travis going to the Ravens game, I think that's going to be the best home game of the season. So
I agree.
Congratulations.
That's exciting, Travis. He says he's been to Arrowhead 3 times because he grew up in Chiefs territory, but super excited to go to a home game, and he despises the Chiefs, which should be
chefs.
Yes, the chefs, which should be the general consensus of all Broncos fans is we despise the Chiefs. So anyway, all right, so back to training camp. What do you think is going to what we might see emerge as far as coaching goes? Now that we'll have a real training camp, real chances for these coaches to actually get hands on the players, to get eyes on the players, and to actually coach the players, because last season we really had a very abbreviated, training camp. And so what do you think is going to change coaching wise? Do you think we're going to see some improvements in the problem areas, or what do you guys think, Rich?
Well, I think our defensive side I'm actually very happy with our defensive side of the ball.
Ed
I think there's been a
Donatel
few
and-
minor tweaks there with regards to some of the guys getting poached for defensive coordinator positions. So that'll be interesting just to see if the quality there maintains. I think it will, because I believe Vic holds those. The ones that left are the ones that are kind of his bread and butter. So I actually think that will hold true to kind of his standard of play. What'll be very, very interesting for me is offensive side of the ball as well as the special teams. I actually wonder, since special teams coordinator was really the only position that kind of survived in through Vic, I wonder if that's going to be the position that kind of, goes the way of the dodo first, if it struggles still. And really, if it does struggle, then I think that'll be really interesting, because that'll show, in my opinion at least, that the back end depth is perhaps struggling a little bit in terms of whether it be discipline or athleticism. Because to me, the teams that have the best special teams typically also have really good depth on the roster.
That's fair. I mean, I personally don't understand how Tom McMahon still has a job.
Right.
But
so I don't know if you want to pull up any comments or if you want me to roll in, but
go ahead. Go right ahead. Pull up some comments.
Offensive coordinator, I think the fact that we're getting a second year, any sort of continuity is not going to hurt at all. Special teams, that's the one that is the mystery for all of us. He has survived. But one thing that Peyton has done is he's brought in players on from the draft and also from free agency that have a high special teams, a high special teams talent level. And so the excuses for McMahon maybe not having the personnel have gone by the wayside as far as I'm concerned. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens.
I mean, and I'm really hoping. Now, so I would love to see, I mean, I don't know if we're going to see it, but I would hope to see that Pat Shurmur learns how to utilize his personnel better. I mean, he's got this time he can't use didn't have enough time to put my entire playbook into effect. No, you had all the time in the world this off season to make that happen with your players. We are at 300. We've broken 300.
We'll pull up Mike's comments from right under Mile High 5.
Let's see. Yeah, so, I'm going to subscribe for all my kids and subscribe for all my future kids.
I mean, quite honestly, there's our quest for 1,000 right there.
Yeah, right
there. Antonio Cromartie looks at Mike and goes, "That dude has a lot of kids."
Like, breeds like a Catholic rabbit. Anyway. I'm never gonna live that one down. But anyway, like I want to see Pat Shurmur. You know, since he now has a full off season with full off season activities, full training camp, utilize his personnel. I mean, for the love of God, I swear, if I do not see Noah Fant utilized very well, Pat Shurmur may end up kidnapped somewhere towards the beginning of the season. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know, that's been one of the most frustrating things for me. I don't know about you guys, but that has been so frustrating for me.
Well, aside from Philip Lindsay, what are your frustrations with Shurmur? Where do you think he fell short on the personnel side?
Really, honestly, it was Philip Lindsay and it was Noah Fant. I felt like he fell short with
but the targets for tight end were some of the highest in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't think maybe the play calling with that. I don't know.
So
that's how I felt.
So if I can jump in, we saw multiple games where Noah Fant was just forgotten about in the second half of football games.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I agree with you that we had a high volume of tight end targets, 100%, I agree. But it's not so much that they were targeted. It was when they were targeted, how they were targeted, and that sort of thing. So it's almost like he chose to use a tight end as almost like a decoy in maybe the second half of certain games. And that doesn't work. You need to leverage the weapons that you have. When you have a guy like Noah Fant on your team on a rookie deal who is at the peak of his athleticism, use him properly. Just like Albert O, the same thing. For whatever reason, they said, well, he's a rookie. He's young. Maybe he can't work out or we won't put him in right away. Like first few games he went in, you're like, why wasn't he playing all season again? So again, there's certain things that we were doing as a team on the offensive side of the ball where we were not leveraging the player and personnel that we have. And then I think we can also point to, if I can kind of go a little bit further on this, look at what happened in the Miami game and the Carolina game when we started pulling our guards. So we have athletic linemen on the offensive line, Reisner, even Glasgow to a certain extent, and Muti is athletic. You know, he's strong as
I really can't wait to see more of him.
He's just an animal. But again, we have athletic linemen that can actually shimmy and move and actually push people off the ball. We didn't start doing that until very late in the season. And when we started doing it, we started seeing a better run game that we were struggling with earlier in the season. Those are a couple things on my list that I think that Shurmur should have done better further along. And oddly enough, those pulling of the guards, that's more of a Munchak style of offense in terms of run game. So I do wonder if at some point Shurmur was forced into doing something, and I wonder if Munchak had more of a role.
Could be.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it could be.
All good points. Why do I feel like you would love to have played rugby on the same team as Moody?
Oh, he and I would have got along swimmingly. Let me tell you that right now.
Yeah, until in practice you had to go up against him in the scrum, buddy.
I've been fine with that.
I mean, I'd love to see you manhandled by Natani Moody. I would love to see that. I would just Richie Rich versus Natani Moody scrum. Like, oh my god, I'd be like sitting there taking pictures and filming. It'd be amazing.
There's a little cheerleader football sitting in between them as the prize.
Yes.
The one thing that threw a lot of people off when I was playing is I only have a 30-inch inseam in my leg, but I'm 6'2".
Wow, tiny legs.
So I have a very low center of gravity, which makes me very difficult to push over, and I'm great in the scrum.
He's like a scarecrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I have short legs as well. I can't compare with rugby. I played intramural rugby in college, but I was not on like an actual rugby team. But I can say that for sure that like when I get to work at my job right now at 911, whenever I go to sit in the chair, whoever's been sitting there before me, almost every time I sit down and I'm like, oh man, I lean back, my feet are like, so I have to lower the chair down because my legs are so short. But
can you have a coworker film that tomorrow, please?
No, I will not. but thanks for playing. I keep working and personal life separate there, pal. Anyway. Tony Williams, speaking of Shermer, whom I dealt with during his G-Men tenure, can anyone explain to me why he didn't utilize more wide receiver screens to Judy during those times he struggled with drops? Simple plays to get him going and gain confidence. And Fant was ignored too much as well, especially in the second halves. So, I mean, I agree. I kind of thought about that too. Like, we didn't see very much in the way of screen passes.
We saw one in like
sweeps.
week 11 or 12 or 13. And
we didn't see. We saw. I don't think we saw. Did we even see anything in the way of sweeps?
Well, when we had the screen pass, they actually talked about it. They referenced it themselves. They were patting themselves on the back. We had a screen pass, and I'm like, the New England Patriots have won championships on the screen pass. You know,
it's one of.
But that's a very good point about Judy. Yeah. You know, we did see him at the end of the year. He broke out for that 90+ touchdown, and that was on a short play that he then did all the no pun intended legwork and got in the end zone. I am interested in hearing what his job was and where he was writing and covering the team.
Tony, would you drop it in the comments for me? What your job was when you were dealing with the G-men? Boggin says to Rich over here, Natani Muti would throw you across the turf. Yep. Mundunga says, great show, guys. And Boggins did say it. Fant had second highest targets outside of Judy. Yeah, yes, he did. I think though, Boggins, I still agree with Rich in that I think it has to do with when he was targeted and how he was targeted. Oh, listen to this. Here we go. Oh, my number is still 911. All righty then. Thank you. Dave, you just made my night. you just made my night with an Ace Ventura reference. All right, Dave also says Mike, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday is not enough. Well, I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I wish we could be on more often, but I have a life.
We could do the Johnny Road show, as he's tooling around the country.
No, I don't want to do that again. Okay, it was a thing that had to happen because I was on a trip with my family. I didn't have a choice. This is what it's supposed to be. Okay, I don't need to be on the road again. I did not enjoy going back and rewatching afterwards and seeing myself be like, so then whatever.
Well, when Johnny kept asking his wife, "Are we there yet?" I thought that was a little much, but
Listen to that. So Tony Williams says, I covered the Giants for 8 seasons and the Knicks for 10 at Metro New York newspaper.
Oh, that's awesome, Tony.
Wow.
Dude.
That's super cool.
That is really
Tony,
cool.
One of these times I want to have you on as a guest because I want to talk to you about what it was like being a beat reporter for 2 pro sports teams. And
you should see if he's available right before the season starts.
we can look into that. So Tony, hit me up in DMs or Messenger or whatever. We will talk. All right.
And I was kidding about Johnny's DMs, so don't be.
I'm not filthy. I'm not filthy. Glenn's the filthy one. He just pushes it off on other people, and then he goes and eats his oatmeal, drinks his Metamucil, and they call lights out at the old folks' home, and he crawls into bed with his bed with the nice side rails.
The night nurse hasn't filled my water bottle yet, but.
No, but she did empty your bedside urinal. So
yes,
congratulations, buddy. So anyway, there we go. Tony, hit me up. Find me on Facebook. Johnny Baki, find me on Facebook since that seems to be your where you are interacting with us, and we will talk about getting you on the show sometime soon. Okay, brother.
So I mean, I think we generally agreed on the offensive side is that, I mean, one thing that Shermer does need to do is look at not just how he utilizes players, when he utilizes players is equally as important in that respect as well. And we actually had some consensus here in the chat as well with some other, folks agreeing with us there. Some other things that are interesting is just Shermer's general change in terms of offensive scheme. I think that may have also be one of the reasons why we saw Miners brought in, because he seems to generally fit a little bit better in terms of that kind of like power run style game.
Am I the only one that still feels like Shermer's scheme is so 2003? Like,
oh, you're going 2000s. That's being generous. I had him in the 90s, but
Yeah,
I feel like
I'm
the
just
guy
saying.
gets a bad rap. I really do.
Okay, I'm not saying that he's not capable.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I feel like when you look at his scheme, so much of it could have been would have been good to run back with Jake Plummer or Brian Greasy back in the early 2000s. But nowadays, I feel like it's not quite up to par completely. Like I think he's working his way into it, but he's just not. I don't feel like he's where he needs to be.
I mean, let's be honest. Outside of injuries, our biggest problem on offense was quarterback decision making being poor. I mean, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to speak the obvious, but and then what's going to happen is if the same thing happens this year, remember the animosity, remember the stories about the defense flipping out in the locker room and getting going after the offense because they were constantly putting them back on the field and not giving them an opportunity to rest. And then, that's probably how some of those injuries happened, where the guys kept being bounced back on. And you're certainly not going to be able to, when you're out there 40 minutes a game, how effective can you possibly be, even if you have the most talented?
I'll give you that. And I mean, and as I recall, even Shelby Harris was one of the guys that was getting in the offense faces.
Probably.
And Shelby is one of the, like, from everything I've read, heard, and said, Shelby's the nicest guy on the team. He does not usually have, harsh words with anybody.
Well, there's got to be something said because no one wants him to date their daughter.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's the biggest. He's not. I've heard he's the nicest guy, but he's also the biggest ball buster. So they take any chance they can get to give him a hard time. I mean, because they couldn't wait.
So Boggins, here you go again. Look, you stop. I'm just kidding. You're right. Remember when Daniel Jones had better stats than Drew Lock in Shermer's offense with less weapons? Okay. All right. Dave says, cheers, Boggs. I'll give it to you. I'll give that to you. I will. I hate to say it, but I'll give it to you.
I know we've become a fan base that is completely adverse to the actual facts of the situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we loved the facts when Drew was 4-1 in the last 5, and, had the killer game, when we were telling the truth about that. But then when he was not doing his reads and throwing the ball to the opposition and being ranked outside the top 32 quarterbacks when there are only 32 teams. I mean, listen, the best thing, and we keep saying it, the best thing that can happen to this team is if Drew snaps out of it and has an unbelievable year, and we haven't given up star players, and we have all of these studs that we, on both sides of the ball.
So can I just play a bit of devil's? I want to play devil's advocate to that.
Okay.
So if that's the case, and we went 4-1 at the end of the year, then why did we get rid of Scangarello? Why did we bring in Pat Shurmur when you had your clear heir apparent that was coming in the next year in 2020? No one knew there was going to be a pandemic, right? But we had a clear connection between Drew Lock doing, we'll say, fairly well, given the fact that he played such a limited amount of time. Our record surely showed, that it was relatively successful. And we saw, dare I say, far more creativity out of a Scangarello offense than we saw out of a Shurmur offense. Now, it may not have always connected and it may not have always worked, but we did see plays that were more creative. We saw more productive plays, and we saw a better run game. So why wouldn't we have kept with Scangarello instead of moving on and potentially putting Drew Lock at a disadvantage and moving on?
Yeah,
Ron says it right there.
Scangarello was.
I'm not fully convinced of that, but that's fine.
But he was so conservative. He didn't. To me, I didn't think that here's a really inventive play caller. I saw a guy that was so conservative that in the game where Lock won his first one against the Chargers, Scangarello wanted to kneel and go into overtime, and Vic said, "No, we are putting it up there and hoping for either a catch and a field goal or a pass interference and a field goal. And he pulled Vic, the defensive coordinator or defensive minded coach, pulls rank on the offensive coordinator who wanted to kneel in that instance. And what ended up happening? Pass interference, field goal. Drew gets his first win.
Yeah.
And also Scangarella, and I have no hatred to the guy. I just don't think he was very, very good. He lasted 1 year at his next job too. So
yeah,
I
mean, I think he was a good fit for Locke alone. Like for whatever reason, he and Locke clicked, but he didn't click very well with the rest of the team, and with the other rest of the coaching staff. So, well, hey guys, it looks like we're pretty well out of time. We're at an hour and 22 minutes, so we need to start to roll it back. This has been an excellent episode of Broncos Talk. I've had a lot of fun. I don't know about you guys, but yes, it's been a blast.
It's been great. Thank you.
I always enjoy a chance to interact with Glenn because I get to do so rarely. And I'm pretty sure that Rich feels the same way. Neither one.
I was about to say the same thing. Glenn and I haven't been on the same pod together since my first podcast with the MHRT guys. This is really the first time me and I have been on screen and shared it at the same time.
False.
So it's been awesome. Great.
That's not true. Late. That's not entirely true because all 7 of us were on following the draft this year. For a while.
My connection, I don't count that because I wasn't able to stay on for longer than 5 minutes at a time.
Right, but anyway, so Glenn, thank you for joining us on Broncos Talk tonight to fill the very large shoes left by a 6'10" Mexican. But guys, this has been Broncos Talk. As I said at the beginning, we are a fan-based Broncos podcast that goes live every Tuesday night at 7654 on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute blast. If you have not already, please subscribe, like, follow, share, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. All right, share it out to your friends so that we can get out there to a bunch of other Broncos fans. We want to grow this family. We want to grow it quickly. We are on, you guys ready for this? We're going to do the quest for 1,000. We are on a quest for 1,000 subscribers. All right, so let's continue to build this family, guys. We cannot wait to talk to see what this training camp has in store. Do not miss our other shows. Thursday night, MHRT Podcast, our flagship podcast, goes live at 7654 on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And this week, the guys, Mundungus, our special guest host tonight, Glenn Hauser, Mr. Boggins, and a 6'10" Mexican who couldn't make it here tonight, We'll be live with special guests from the Denver Broncos, Ryan Edwards.
I can't wait.
I mean, I can't wait for that. So please subscribe. Do not miss the Thursday night show of MHRT Podcast. And then this following Sunday, do not miss myself and Isaiah because he will be back. Myself and Isaiah with Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast with special guest Cameron Parker of Mainly Broncos podcast and Predominantly Orange. Guys, sorry, Glenn's clapping. Yes. It has been an absolute blast being with you guys tonight. We can't wait to see you on Thursday. Go Broncos, and we must do the mile high five. All right. Are you guys ready?
I'm in.
All right, here we go. We're going to do it right. Remember, Rich? It's 1, 2. It's mile high five clap, right?
Here
we go. Mile high five. Yes. All right. We love you, Broncos country, and we will see you again this Thursday night for our first reactions to actual training camp. We are out.